Welcome to a world of mystery and hope as we dive into the hauntingly beautiful movie, Nowhere. The movie begins with the story of Europe facing a severe crisis, and people lack basic necessities. This led to the collapse of some governments and the rise of a ruthless ruler named Not Enough at All, who decided to solve the resource shortage by eliminating people, starting with the elderly and targeting pregnant women and children. Fortunately, some countries like Ireland, Iceland, and Norway resist this cruel regime and offer refuge to those fleeing the chaos. Among them are Nico and his pregnant wife, Mia. One night, a smuggler guides them to a local harbor, where they navigate through shipping containers to find an escape route. They encounter obstacles like a dog and evade the police arresting others. Along the way, they encounter another smuggler who demands more money, leading Mia to give up her wedding ring. Finally, they reach a shipping container that will be transported to Ireland, their destination of safety. Mia uncovers her belly, concerned about the lack of movement from her baby. Nico helps her find the spot where the baby usually kicks and shares a Snickers bar, a small treat they've been saving for their arrival in Ireland. Later, when a refugee uses a drill to let in some light, Mia watches other children and feels guilty about leaving their first child behind. Nico comforts her, suggesting their first child was likely taken away by the soldiers. Suddenly, the truck stops, and a crowd enters. The smugglers order everyone to leave, threatening them with weapons without considering who arrived first. Nico tries to explain their situation, but he's ignored and taken away. As the doors close, Mia watches through a hole as her husband is taken. She contacts Nico with her phone, and he reassures her that they'll reunite later since the trucks are headed in the same direction. He advises her to save battery and watch over their belongings for now. As the truck moves through the streets, Mia witnesses people protesting against the government seizure of children and tyranny. The truck itself is riddled with bullet holes, and Mia is overwhelmed by the horrors and her own feelings of helplessness. The military eventually stops the truck, and their commander forces the driver to open it. At first glance, they only see a few boxes because the refugees are hiding behind a fake wall. However, the commander becomes suspicious and sends one of his men inside, instructing him to go as far as possible and shoot at the side wall. When the soldier does this, the leader notices a difference in distance and realizes there's a hidden compartment. He and his soldiers enter the compartment and demand that the women come out, threatening to shoot everyone through the wall if they don't comply. In a desperate bid to protect herself, Mia manages to climb onto a high wooden crate in the middle of the cargo hold just as one of the girls opens the door, and the military begins to open fire. Mia, hiding under the crate, bites her lip to stifle her screams of terror as the military searches the hidden compartment. After they leave, she cries and sends her husband a message, urging him to hide. A few hours later, the truck reaches another harbor, and the container is moved to be loaded onto a ship. Mia attempts to call Nico, but he doesn't answer, so she leaves another message saying she's on the ship. She checks her belongings and turns on a light before falling asleep. Later, Mia is jolted awake as the container starts shaking. Through the bullet holes, she can see sailors frantically moving around due to a fierce storm battering the ship. She realizes with horror that her container has fallen into the ocean and is now adrift on the waves. To contact Nico, she tries her phone, but it's waterlogged and no longer works. Remembering a bag left behind by another traveler, Mia finds a working phone inside, but it's locked, preventing her from making calls. She notices water seeping through the bullet holes and begins searching through the cargo. In one of the boxes, she discovers dry clothes, which is a relief since she's wet and cold. She changes into the dry clothes and continues inspecting the cargo. After searching through the cargo, Mia gathers her belongings that fell from her bag, which includes some tape and a Swiss Army knife. She uses the tape to slow down the water seeping through the bullet holes in the container. Among her possessions, she finds her diary and takes comfort in a picture of her family. Mia hears screams and looks through a hole, seeing another container sinking with people inside. She desperately calls for Nico using her working phone, but gets no response as the container goes under, causing her to break down. She keeps trying to reach Nico for hours, but still hears nothing. As night falls, she contemplates ending her life with the knife, but then feels her baby move, giving her hope. She decides to fight for her child's sake and falls asleep to the soothing sounds of whales outside. Her sleep is interrupted by strange noises in the container, and she wakes to find a lot of water inside. Though not yet critical, Mia discovers plastic packaging boxes and uses them to patch the bullet holes with the help of some pipes she finds. She also uses tape to measure the water level. Despite her efforts, her phone still has no signal. Just then, her phone rings, and it's Nico. Explained that he couldn't answer earlier because his phone's battery had died. He's still alive because the other driver deceived them, leaving the group outside the city instead of taking them to the harbor. Mia shares her ordeal, and Nico promises to find a way to rescue her. For now, he advises her to save the phone battery and stay strong for their child. Consumes what's left of her food and gazes out at the ocean, holding on to hope for rescue. However, in the evening, another storm rolls in, bringing with it labor pains. Mia wrestles with the water-filled container, crying out for her husband, but there's no one there to assist her. Eventually, she gives birth to a baby girl. The baby starts crying and Mia hugs her to calm her down. After some time, her placenta came out, which she kept in a plastic container. She even used the clothes to make diapers for the baby. Unfortunately, the baby wasn't eating anything and just kept on crying. When Mia hears the container's metal squeaking, she gets an idea. She uses the drill she finds and starts making holes in the ceiling, hoping to cut a square that will allow her to escape. While working on this, she remembers seeing the drill among the belongings. However, the baby's continuous crying and the stress begin to wear on Mia. She shouts at the baby in frustration, but quickly apologizes for it. In the evening, the baby finally latched onto her breast, and after feeding, the baby fell asleep, providing Mia with a brief moment of respite to eat and regain some strength. Mia continued drilling the ceiling, but unfortunately, the drill ran out of battery before she could finish. She then puts the SIM card back into her original phone, but still can't get it to work. Frustration builds up, and she begins tossing her belongings in anger. When she finds the knife, she attempts to use it on the holes in the ceiling to complete the task, but it starts hurting her hands. As time passes, Mia doesn't have much to occupy her except caring for the baby. Occasionally, she wets the child's skin to help her with the heat. When she tries to sleep, it's challenging because her stomach keeps growling due to the lack of food. She ate her own placenta in desperation. One night, Mia hears strange sounds from outside and her container begins to sway dangerously. She realizes that they are whales. The baby starts crying, and Mia, holding her child, knocks on the walls in an attempt to scare away the sea creatures. When this works, she sighs in relief. The 6th day of her captivity arrives, and Mia has almost completely drilled through the ceiling between the holes. However, her knife breaks, and her water supply is running low. Mia tries to collect condensation drops from the container's ceiling, but there are very few of them. Eventually, Mia loses her strength and enters a delusional state. During this time, her older daughter Uma appears, pleading with her to leave this place. Uma accuses her mother of allowing her to be taken away, as she only wants to play outside. After Uma leaves, Mia begs for forgiveness. Shortly afterwards, Mia feels her husband's touch comforting her and reassuring her that it wasn't her fault. Mia regains consciousness as fresh rainwater pours through the holes onto her. She arranges some boxes to collect the water and unexpectedly discovers the last can of canned food. After replenishing her strength, she promises her daughter that she will get them out of there and resumes her efforts to escape. Finally, she manages to bend a piece of metal and sees the sky. Mia hysterically laughs and then climbs to the surface to survey the sea. Mia and the baby sleep on the surface to get fresh air, and when it's time to change the baby, Mia tosses the dirty hoodie into the water. This attracts a bunch of fish, prompting Mia to grab some rope and a piece of metal to try fishing. However, despite her efforts, she can't catch a single fish. Later, Mia spots a passing plane and rushes into the container to break a television, obtaining a piece of its screen. She climbs back out, but accidentally injures her leg in the process. Using the screen piece to reflect sunlight, she tries to signal the plane, but it doesn't notice her and flies away. Mia treats her leg wound with alcohol she found and stitches it up, occasionally losing consciousness during the night. Mia spends her time weaving nets from wires as she has a whole box of headphones. Eventually, she manages to catch a fish and eats it raw. Meanwhile, the water level inside the container continues to rise. Despite Mia's efforts to periodically pump out the water, Her makeshift vessel is sinking deeper into the ocean. One afternoon, Mia shows the baby all the pictures of their family and decides to name the child Noah, which was a name Nico wanted. She also shares a picture of her sister and tells Noah the story of how soldiers took her sister away, expressing her ongoing sense of guilt about it. Later in the evening, Mia notices that Noah is getting cold, so she uses some alcohol and a lighter to start a fire. In the middle of the night, Mia hears something hitting the wall and finds it's just a plastic container. Then, her phone starts ringing, and Mia is overjoyed to hear Nico's voice. However, he has bad news. He attempted to steal a boat but was seen by soldiers and got shot. Nico is currently hiding, but slowly bleeding out and doesn't have much time left. He calls to say goodbye and makes Mia promise that she'll survive. Mia places the phone next to Noah so Nico can hear their baby's cute noises. After exchanging "I love you" with Nico, her phone battery dies, and the wind extinguishes the fire as she cries. Mia still has the Snickers bar, which she's been saving for the end of her journey as promised. On day 26, she's reaching her breaking point. The container walls are covered in drawings and rants on paper sheets, and it's about to reach its water limit, so Mia and the baby are now living on top of it. She's also using crate wood, plastic containers, and rope to build a makeshift raft. One day, a seagull lands on the container, giving Mia hope that they're near land. Later that evening, Mia starts a new fire and prepares a sail for her raft. Suddenly, she realizes the container is sinking, so she dives in to retrieve her pictures and finds the Snickers bar in a plastic container. Risking it all, she ventures further inside to grab it. As the water pushes Noah's raft away, Mia's foot gets tangled in the rope. She struggles to free herself while avoiding drowning and eventually succeeds with a piece of metal. When she resurfaces, Mia can't see Noah, but a whale's spout hits the baby, making her cry. Mia follows the sound and reunites with her daughter. The next morning, while they float, Mia throws out some fish from a plastic container, hoping to attract birds. Soon, a group of seagulls appears, catching the attention of a nearby boat. The sailors immediately head in their direction and rescue the small raft, finding Noah inside alive and well. A rope from the raft leads into the sea, so they pull it up and Mia's body emerges. The sailors start CPR, and after relentless efforts, Mia finally responds. They hand her the baby and call for help on the radio. Mia realizes she's safe and sees that they're approaching Ireland, where she can finally start a new life.